In this video, I'm going to introduce the dative case, but I want to start with a review of the two cases that we already know. So far we've had the nominative and the accusative case, where the nominative indicates the subject or the thing that is doing the verb, and the accusative indicates the direct object, the thing being verbed. So in these sentences here, if these were written in Latin, and we saw the student reads a book, the student is doing the reading, so that is the nominative. The book is being read, it's the direct object, so it's accusative. Okay, down here, I drew a picture, I did the drawing, so that would be nominative. The picture was the thing that was drawn, the direct object, so it's accusative. And the last one, the dogs chase the cat. The dogs are the subject, they're doing the chasing, so they are nominative. The cat is the direct object because it is being chased, and thus the cat is accusative. So those are the two cases that we had earlier in the year, and now we're going to introduce a third case. That case is called the dative case, and it is used to show the indirect object. So the thing that is indirectly affected by the verb, not the thing that is being verbed. A simpler way to think of it is with translating it with the words to or for in front of it. So let's take a look at this first example. The student reads a book to the dog. The student is doing the reading, okay, so she is nominative. The book is being read, so that's our direct object, accusative. And now we have to the dog, okay? And this would be our dative in that sentence, okay? The dog is not the thing being read. The book is being read, but the dog is being indirectly affected by that because it's being read to the dog. In the next one, I drew a picture for the kids. And we have I, again, doing the verb, doing the drawing. It's the subject, so it is nominative. The picture is the thing that was drawn. It's the direct object, so it's accusative. And now we have for the kids. Okay, the kids were not drawn. Okay, the picture was drawn for them, and so they are in the dative. Okay, and this last one is an example of how you don't have to use the words to or for in a sentence to have an indirect object, and it's something you want to watch out for because it can cause a little confusion. So here, he gave the woman a gift. Okay, the verb is to give, and the thing doing that verb, the subject, is he. So that's our nominative. And then if we look at the pattern here, we might say, oh, he gave the woman, so maybe the woman is accusative because there's no to or for before the woman. But ask yourself, in this sentence, what was being given? Was it the woman or the gift? Yeah, so the gift was given, which means that is our accusative word. And even though the sentence doesn't say it, the meaning that's being conveyed is that he gave a gift to the woman, but English allows us to drop that to or for. And so even though it doesn't have the word to or for in front of it, the woman is the indirect object because she is not the subject, she is not the thing that was given. Instead, the thing was given to her. Okay, so that's what the dative does. Okay. Now let's look at the endings for the dative. So here are your case endings. I've filled in the ones that we had earlier in the year for the nominative, and then we have singular and plural for each. And now we're going to add the dative. And notice that I stuck the dative in between the nominative and the accusative. I didn't just put it at the bottom. This is a standard order of cases. If you look in any Latin textbook written for usually an American audience, you'll see the cases listed in this order, which is why we're kind of sticking it in the middle there. And so the new endings which you'll need to memorize are as follows. We have AE and IS, O and IS, I, and then IBUS or IBUS. Okay, so those are your dative endings. So this is your new ending chart that needs to be memorized. If you had the earlier endings, if you had the 12 other endings already memorized, then that's great. And you just need to add these. But be sure you know now all 18 of these endings. Now there's a couple things. Something that sometimes bothers students is when you see the AE and the AE here, and you say, well, how are we going to know if it's a dative singular or a nominative plural? There are ways of telling. There are some conventions in word order and things like that, but just think about how we had this earlier in the year, and we had ways of figuring out if that ES was the nominative or the accusative. The same thing is true here. Even though they happen to be similar endings, you'll usually be able to tell in a sentence. So let's look at a couple sentences that have a dative. Okay. So the first one, amicus quoque quibum dat. Okay, so we have amicus is our nominative, quoque is our new dative ending, and quibum is our accusative. So the translation for this one would be, the friend gives food to the cook. Okay, there's our dative, 2 or 4. The friend gives food to the cook. Okay, let's take a look at this next one. Quoquus, us is a nominative ending. Senatoribus, there's one of our new dative endings. Canam is our accusative. Okay, and then our verb is parat. So to translate this one, it would be, the cook prepares dinner for the senators. And you might say, how do I know if it's 2 or 4? Well, one will usually work better. It doesn't make a lot of sense to say the cook prepares dinner to the senators. So it's the cook prepares dinner for the senators. Okay, and one more. Metella, okay, there's our nominative. Servis is it's our dative plural ending. Tunikas is accusative. And our verb is amit. So to translate this, it would be, Metella buys the tunics for the servants. Okay? Metella buys the tunics for the servants. And you'll notice this is kind of the order that Cambridge likes to keep the sentences in. So you'll often see nominative, dative, accusative, verb. So when you come across that AE, and it's the first word of a sentence, it's most likely going to be the nominative. If it's later on in the sentence, it's very likely going to be a dative. And there's one final note about the dative, and that has to do with English. And in English, we really like this word to. It has all kinds of different uses in English. So note that not all tos are the same. So if we look in these 4 sentences, I go to the store, he gives money to the banker, you run to her, she reads a story to him. You'll see that they all have the word to. Okay? But when you're thinking about these as if they were going to be in Latin, not all of these would be dative. Dative is only used if it's the indirect object. The challenge can be that English uses the same word to indicate motion towards. So what you want to ask yourself is this showing motion towards, or is it an indirect object? So if we look here and say, I go to the store. Okay, the verb go kind of gives it away that this is talking about motion. So I go to the store. This would not be the dative. Okay, that sentence would not use the dative. Instead, it would use the preposition ad, which means to or towards. If we see here, he gives money to the banker. Okay, there's no major motion towards. Yes, the money is kind of moving towards the banker, but you can see that same sentence structure of the nominative verbs, the accusative, to or for the dative. So this one would be a dative verb, a dative word. You run to her. Again, we have that motion. And so we have this one would not use the dative. Instead, it would use the word odd to show motion towards. And then she reads a story to him. You can tell that that is the indirect object. She's not moving towards him. And so this one would be a dative word. So just something to keep in mind, that when we're doing practice translating English into Latin, or if it's a bonus question, the word to does not automatically indicate a dative word. It can also show motion towards, which is slightly different. So that's it for the dative. Thanks for watching.